back. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's still Mellow High. Um. Maybe not having the bitrate at 500 might help. Might help my case. You know what? The stream looks way purpler on my phone than it does just like anywhere else. Can I? Do you think this is gonna work? It's not gonna do anything. Zzz. Dude, this stream's gonna be a movie. We're so backed. Nothing has ever gone wrong. Someone's on the server. It's great. We're flourishing. Who's online? It's Sam. It's Sam. It's Sam. It's awesome. We're back. Hi, Sam. And now, what the fuck? Wait. Is this better? I'm gonna run around a little and see how okay that looks. Dude. Dude. maybe the 500 whole bit rate just wasn't helping my case. No. That's awesome. Where's Sam? There's Sam. Hi, Sam. The USB was to save Nevada into a gun. That's wicked. Stream, are we thrilled? Are we thrilled by the fun facts? Classic little American nature turning. Yeah, man. What the fuck? This is, dude. Who knew that? That maybe having a higher bitrate would generally make things better. Guys, because I'm actually the worst idiot ever. Let me put on my. Ah! Hell yes! Dude, I love hitboxes. I'm genuinely just like the awesomest thing ever. What the fuck? What? Dude, I've unlocked the key to just like being good at streaming. What the hell? I'm so sorry for like the first 45 minutes. The manhole shot into space so fast they had a camera that was recording at 1 frame per millisecond. And the camera caught it moving in only 1 frame. Wait, hold on. To put a nuke 5 miles down and covered it with a bunch of concrete. What's America even about, by the way? What the hell? Yeah, man, sure. What the hell? What the hell, sure. Oh my god, what am I doing? America is to contain all the bad things and I hope they don't leak out, which unfortunately they always do. Yeah, you know what, that's fair. Yeah. It's like, yeah. I'm gonna put things in here, a little community chest. I'm gonna be like Mr. Beast, except not like a war criminal. It's gonna be great. Hell yeah! My little wall is coming to fruition. America made the dream is to me. That alone is a massive sin. Dude, don't even joke, lad. Where did all my food go? Did I actually eat it? I'm actually huge and gluttonous. What the hell? I'm gonna plant the pillow three. Oh my god. Dude, I'm actually the unspeaker. I actually cannot speak for shit. I'm gonna put this. Dude, I'm gonna gatekeep actually. I'm actually gonna gatekeep. Um, with squirm and wiggle. I want this. I want my callback. Stealing from the community. Dream isn't from America, he's from Florida. There's a difference. Dude. I couldn't even think of a little quip for that one. If Florida's worse than America, then oh my god, bro, it's over. It's over for the Floridians. How's my little farm doing? I should probably eat food so I don't die. Well, a little Minecraft strategy for you guys. Dead man, trying not to laugh out loud. Where the freak did I put my little farm? It's over here. My spinning fucking horse? No, I don't think that's a horse. No, that shit is not a horse. Hold on. That's just not a horse. I'm sorry. It was really small. It was really small. Couldn't even tell. Where the fuck is my wheats? Guess I'd have to be a dead man. What? Hello? Knock knock. Knock knock. Who is there? Oh, it's over there. Legitimately just like over there. I actually suck. Actually stupid. Wait, now that I have iron, I can... Oh my god. Dude, I'm gonna make a little... First I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna... Then I'm gonna do that. Boing, boing. Utter into the waste? Maybe, but that's okay. It's not if you think about it. It's good for the economy. Taking my seeds back. Fuck y'all. Get a bit closer to spawn. So we'll have a nice little spawn farm. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wicked. Samsung's back. Oh my god, there's so many people. Wait. I wish I had prox chat, but for my beloved Ferret Master, nay, I shan't. Levitating. Hello. No. What am I doing? Go down here. Blast furnace. Iron. Can I have stuff? Um. Okay, for you, Cobble. um, for you, Dark Oak. What's up, YouTube? Um, um, Cole. This is great. Hey, have I? Cac- Dude, this is why I don't read people's name out. This is just why I do not read names. I'm so sorry. What the fuck? Um, dude, I'm actually the worst. Oh my god. Oh! Okay. Where should I put this little farm? Should I like go down a bit? I'll put it over. I'm gonna make a shovel. First of all, I'm gonna get clothed. Can you read my name out, please? No! I hate you. Sorry, no, I love you. Dude, don't you know all this time I've actually been ignoring you? Cause you're just my least favorite. Dude, I'm gonna do like a live viewer tier list. I'm gonna make the special Dalbaz tier, and it's on the bottom. What was I doing? I was making a shovel. No, I'm not gonna make an iron shovel. Who do you think I am? Time to not message you ever again. No, I love you. Don't leave me. What the hell? Oh my god, my whole live. My whole life. Oh, okay. My whole life. Then I'm gonna fill my holes live on Twitch. Wap, wap, wap. Ignore how I just made it a path. You're sending mixed messages. This is toxic. I'm sorry. I have to leave. No. If you leave, I'll kill myself. Dude. Dude, don't do it. Should I steal the Beverly Beverage Box farm strategy again? Nah, we'll leave it normal for the aesthetics. My normal woke farm. Don't have that much seeds. 4 hole. Put a little bit of water there. It's gonna be great. Sam is back. I can't tell if Sam is like having issues or if she's just like entering and leaving. The woke farm where you farm clips. Wait! You gave me an ingenious idea. Tried to record and my game crashed. Oh no. You got this. Trust. How do I craft a stand? I know how. Don't play with me. I didn't. Okay. I love Minecraft. It works so well. It's very friendly to bad computers. Oh, bless her heart. She's so cooked. There we go. We farm clips and pronouns. Yeah, yeah, just a clip farm now. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. Revolutionary stuff. Ha ha ha. Why am I just like starving all the time? Hold on, I'm gonna kill myself. Watch my elite strategy come to fruition. Okay, this might not be my elite strategy. Could be the wind turbines and towers are making your bitrate soggy. It's true. It's true. You know what? I have Figura installed. For like, cause it's fun. But I use this like axolotl one for my Chud Minecraft roleplay. But what it does is it also makes like fish noises when you hurt yourself. So now I just sound like a really, really wet guy. It's great. Do a flip! Whee! Hell yes. And like clockwork, it all works out. Just a little soggy. Listen, boys can get a bit wet. Who's to stop them? Who's to stop a boy from getting wet? You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I can sleep. I can make it daytime and bright and beautiful. I have rights. The desert of doom and despair. I, yeah, yeah. Wait! Sorry. Wait! We're like some kind of duo. Some kind of desert duo. What? I'm gonna utilize my Minecraft event strategy and just start getting a load of kelp. You ever go swim in the ocean just to soak yourself up a bit? Dude, for a guy that lives like by the sea, I don't go near the sea like at all. It's crazy. I should do that somehow. Desert doing it, dude. Yeah. First chat is showing no connection for me. Oh, what the hell? Wait, I'm gonna fish farm. This is the new clip farming alternative where we all get wet and flop around a bit. Turn it all into sand. Dude, just like gradually turning the entire server into sand. A farm but you name all of the animals Clip. That's awesome, yes. Oh. What the hell? My suspiciously square, suspiciously cubular cliff. Um, Wait, I can do the streamer thing. There's like 6 of you here. I'm with Discord. You can join that. Why does my thing? Oh, it's because I don't have like. Whatever. What the hell? What the hell? Wait. Thank you. Thank you for the sub. What the hell? Wait, that's awesome. Dude, I'm actually a billionaire. I'm actually moving up in the world. What the hell? Thank you. Oh, my alerts don't work right now. But nevertheless, I acknowledge you and I see you. When I would visit my family, they'd always be getting us to swim, and we'd be called cowards if we didn't want to swim in the Celtic Sea. dude, dude, what are they like doing to you there? They're like sending you to the mine, and then just they're sending you to mines and just putting you in the ocean. What even happens? What happens in Leeds, dude? No, I'm baby. Where is Sam? I'm gonna hunt Sam. I miss my Sam. I really need to change my Twitch name to match my other users. Maybe you should. It's gonna be really awkward. Okay, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. For stream sniping Sam. Dude, I'm counter sniping. Wait, I'm God. Hi Sam. I say it as if she can hear me. She can't, but hi Sam. I'm staring at you from across the river. Fuck my stupid chud life. I was trying to armor him. I was trying to aura farm, dude. Fuck off. Dude. What did chat if Sam aura farmed crazy style? It's okay. I'll, one. We support you, Sam. We love you. Dude, actually the ultimate aura farmer. Sam is always aura farming, dude. Sam is my goat forever. Well, there we go. Gonna little fish slap. Fish. Oh no. No, I'm sorry. No, don't do it. Hi Sam. Hi Sam. Hi Sam. Why are you like high definition out of? No, you're like double like high definition. The sides are just like normal and woke. I'm not your go. We got Saki wet together, dude. Dude, you're like my like, we're, you're like more than goat. I'm like locked eyes with your toes. You're like, the farm. Um, my cat's meowing somewhere. I can do that. Meow, meow. Chat, is that cute? Chat, am I cute? Be honest. Hello, 4. Guy named 4. Can you make a tier list of each individual little piggy? Dude, I've like a tier list. I got like the went to the market tier and like stream of stream lag of despair. Okay, listen. If you were here like for like the first half, it was like a billion times worse. It was a billion times worse. So count your blessings, okay? Count your blessings. My 4-hole cooked fish. God bless. Count your days. Worry. Hashtag worry about. Thanks, Dalpals. Oh. I kind of half expected to see the beam. is it bad? Listen. Maybe it's your problem because I can. If I turn up my volume, I can hear myself. I can. I can't even. The opiate. Maybe it's your evil fucked up machine. Maybe this is your problem. Now I'm noticing my music hasn't been playing. I'm not happy about that. Actually, not a big fan. Hold on. It's really awkward, but it's okay. Goodbye, Woolwood and tapeworms. No, never mind. It's just like quiet. No, it's okay, guys. Whatever's going on. Guy confessing his sins through Tumblr tags. I got talking with a minor. I'm really sorry, guys. Apologies even soon. No, it's okay, guys. Dude, it's true. Oh my god. Whatever that means, I don't actually know. But listen, you got this. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry, that was like worst commentary on words ever. Actually, I forgot that was a command. Dude, don't get me started. I'm such a fan. They're like my thing. Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know if I want to read that bit. Yeah, I know that. I don't know why, it just doesn't fit. Like, look, if I try and like fix it, if I there's this gap at the bottom. I guess I could stretch it. My mildly stretched stream. Hell yeah. Let's get a bit stretchy with it. Are we pleased by my mild stretch? Stretch boy. I'm the stretcher. That's what they call me. They call me the stretcher. This is pleasing. I'm so glad you're pleased, Sam. Dude, this is so like... This is such like an aura farmy spot. You get like the you can like overlook the beautiful sunrise. It's awesome. IP link server name. Wait. Where's my IP command? What the hell? It was there. What? Why do I have a little stream thing that says fail? Just says like... Why does it say that? Why are they saying mean things to me? Home address. No, don't do the stupid home address command. Dude, what if I just put a command that reads out my home address, but you don't know what it is? It's not like exclamation home address, it's like just like strange obscure. Why is it so like vertical? Giggling? The giggler? It's just the address to a nearby Papa John's. Yeah, that's great. Leave me alone! Leave me alone, Hell Beast! What the hell? Give me like a cool little boost. That's cool. I miss Flowerly. Flowerly, log on! At Flowerly. Guys, do you want to see my spear? Do you want to see my spear? Do you want to see my spear? Look at my spear. Do you like my spear? I can't. What if one day I showed up to your house and said nothing and you 10 needles of ketamine and signed Lovejoy final? Yeah, man. Dude, wait. I'm gonna follow my idol. Dude, 10 needles of ketamine. Guys, Whippersnapper is not my idol. Stood. Can I even kill anything with this? I can. I think. It's not very effective. But that's okay. Oh, hell yeah. Are you spreading love and joy, Malai? I am not spreading love or joy. Not a single ounce of love or joy in my heart. Oh, there we go. Listen, it's my favorite thing ever. It's my favorite thing ever. I learned that I could do this. It's my favorite thing. Dude, no, you don't get it, because I've been trying to learn PvP. So my fucking FOV, I'm fucking Quake Pro. I switched my crouch and shift keys so the shift is closer to my fingers. I have the fucking armor hut. Dude, I'm locked in. I'm actually locked the fuck in. Dude, don't play with me. I'm actually the go. Dude, let me have this. Let me have this. All fun and games until I'm the deadliest player, okay? All fun and games until I'm the server's deadliest player. What do I have to do to get you to stream Ace Attorney? I, you know what? I'd be down for that, but I don't. Hold on, I have Googling to do. Oh, I might. Dude, 5 gifted. No, I'm joking. I'll play it someday. Dude, I'm giggling. Bro, yeah, obviously, bro, we can hear you. Shut up, Melon. Actually, just shut up. You'd be a fire and visual novel streamer because you wouldn't explode everything. That's true, wait! To give subs button is very tempting, dude. Dude, don't do it! Suspiciously spending issues shaped viewer. Taps my chin, don't do it! I can give you the game kit. Ew, brother. Wait, yes! I'm gonna meow. Guys, what do you think about this? This is awesome. I was like trying to suss out which oomph this was, and it was the fucking dude. You're fucking playing with me. You're. Oh my god, bro. I'm gonna kill you. I'm actually gonna kill you. Just like, just a, just a little joke for the chat. just a, oh my god. Such bad Valentine's. No, don't do it. Foolish Sam. I have 2 underscores. Rubs hands maliciously. Dude, I'm gonna make bombs on this server. Trust me. Creeper farm drools. Hold on. Hold on, chat. Chat, my little. Oh, keep inventory is not on. Okay, locking in. Sam! Sam's the server info channel! Sam! Sam, no! Foolish Sam, I laced your shit. I'm gonna kill this animal with my 21.11 stone spear. It's awesome. It's my favorite thing. Oh, there goes Sam. Is that actually a spear? It is a spear, but because I'm playing on an earlier version and we have Via version, it looks like this and it just doesn't work at all. It's really funny. Did my hair black, by the way? I'm kind of like an shy Mutsudere. Not that you care or anything. Baga. Yeah, man, great, brilliant, wicked. What difficulty is this? Is it? I would know. I'm stupid. Holy aura loss. The aura losser. It's okay. Wait. Little joke for the chat. Good chat messages? Let me know. Yes, yes, yes. More of this. Hey. Why? Oh, there we go. Sheep. Be gone, foul beast. Why am I trying to use my fuck ass stupid spear? Need to watch Iron Lung, the gameplay I was told to last night, and did not do that. Dude, maybe I should watch Iron Lung. Dude, like evil Iron Lung, anemic lung. Let me know what you think. Watching the movie today. Yay! Did you go the right way? No. How to watch Iron Lung with? Should I fly over? Yes, fly over. I don't think it's in my like local place. Maybe I have to fly over. You have a friend who's something like you. I'm so joyful. Yay! Dude, I miss Dalbels. Dalbels, come back. Why'd you go distant, white boy? Ah! Oh my god, that shit scared me. Dude, my elite PvP strategies. What the hell's that? Dude, I didn't like that noise. That was scary. Oh, dude, just a mini beast, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm not brave enough for this. Why does my sprint feel so slow? Leave me alone! Leave me alone. Why are there so many fuck-ass mobs? It wasn't meant to be like this. Yes, come to my secondary location. Yes, yes, yes. Holy fucking spawn rate. What is going on? Dude, and now I'm hungry. How hungry? Trenches craft. Dude, leave me alone, foul beast! Why is there a baby zombie? Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Get out of my head! Oh my god, what the fuck? I'm going to kill you! I'm actually gonna kill you. You're being hung. You're being publicly hung. Nah, because you're actually giving me way too much money. What the hell? Wait, I'm your favorite. I'm God. I love you! Sorry. No, I'm not sorry actually. Wait! I want to live. It's okay. It's okay. I got you alive. Ah! Fucking One Piece gif. Yes! Yes! I love. What? No, I don't. I haven't watched One Piece. Should I watch One Piece? Be honest. It's okay, Sam. You got this. What am I doing? I'm cooking. I cannot cook in the blast furnace. Stupid Malwai! Oh. Turns out Sam didn't got this. That one special. And that's my Discord kitten. Don't go trying to take my place. Ladies, ladies, one at a time. Ah! What are you doing here? Get away from me, one boy. This is a green boy. That's even worse. Come here, come here. Ah! No! Dude. Man, gonna make my spawn all ugly. My ugly chuddy ass spawn. Dude, I feel so slow when I'm building. I feel like that one like video of that guy. You just need to know, okay? I won't watch One Piece until I run out of anime to watch. Also, they drained the character's melanin, and I would sob and weep if I got to when I got to that point. Ranking the colors of boys. Listen, I'm doing my boy color tier list, okay? And you can't stop me. Yes, it's true. Next stream is boy color tier list. You got me. And they'll go in F tier because I hate boys. It's true. I like jumping on the wall. I I like things. Guy that likes things. Guys, that's a little enjoyer of things. We're all red on the inside, and I hate red boys too. I, I hate red inside boys too. And like blue boys. Boys that are blue on the inside. I love DBH! I love it! Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. Don't play with me. Don't play with me about no Detroit Human. Dude, nah, because my brother had it on his PlayStation, so I played it then. I don't think my laptop would be able to handle it, sadly. But I love that game. I love that game. I love that game. Don't play with me. Never play with me in your life. I've been thinking about getting back into it. But yes, dude. Dude. I should like remake my OC that was less of an OC and more of a concept. Concept of an OC. Dude, I love this game. I love this game. Dude, what you know about DBH? Roblox roleplay. Don't play with me. I think I like fish. That was a good fish. It's fine, I get it. I get how us boys really just rule society unfairly. Seeing the credit for women and non-binary people? Sorry. Got a big woe there. The other boys make fun of me for being so hot and tall and beautiful and being a feminist. 6 foot, by the way. Well said, beautifully said. I'm not even picking up the damn kelp. Give me my kelp, boy. Just being the stupid ass bitch at the start. That's fucking wicked. This feels so encouraging, dude. Dude, what you doing when someone claims the fish in LDSMP? Dude. Yeah, that's awesome. It was peak meme at the time. See if it was. Yeah, back in my back in my day, people yeah, there was a joke there. Trust me. um, um, um. Pre-COVID times feel scary. Cause what do you mean 2019 was a dude? COVID. Think about COVID is insane. Cause like that shit happened. That shit happened. What? That occurred. You know how insane that is? For that to just have occurred. It's bizarre. Fucking kidding me? just moved past that, by the way. Nobody talks about it anymore, but that was like a whole last thing. Why were we genuinely... Why did we genuinely have like a real life infection, AU? What the fuck? Wait. Wait. Why did that happen? Do not call it that. Dude. Dude, what are you doing when... I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the joke there. Just didn't work out. Why am I up here? Am I stupid? My cup going here? My cup is going in there. Hell yeah. Dude, I'm the best. Dude, I actually got so depressed and started isolating before COVID, so hey, it didn't really bother me. Dude, I just didn't never go outside. What are you doing when I make an infection at you? But it's just COVID. Dude, my COVID infection at you. You fucking kidding? Yes. So hungry for dried kelp. I'm so hungry I could eat dried kelp. Yeah, man. Boop, boop, boop. Can I kelp you? Heh, good one now, pals. That was such a lifeless response, I'm sorry. What the fuck are we saying? I'm here all week. Not anymore. Not if I can help it. I feel the urge to like do something, but I don't know what. So I'm just gonna not pretend. Oh, that's not. Um, why do I have 2 stone shovels? That's pretty problematic to say to a queer neurodivergent miner. No, no. Do you guys remember the fairy comments? Yeah. Yeah. Back in my day, it was the time. I don't know why you weren't for me. What am I looking for? What am I doing? What is possibly even occurring right now? What am I looking for? I'm making an axe! Heh. Can I ask you a question? Little Malahai bit. Little Malahai joke. Boo! Shut up, Sam! You're getting banned. Sam, we're gonna. Dude. This is where we put the. This is where we add the guillotine to the server. How do I do this? Hold on. Docs. Yes, please. Chat. I can see you. I can see you on my laptop now. Dude, my setup is beautiful because I have my phone out. I have my laptop out. It's great. Build a jail. Like some kind of prison. Put me into prison, Sam. I can't tell you what I have. Were we a fan of that? I can't read Sam's little messages. Multi-screen maxing. Exactly. Putting the prison on another zombie. I mean, out of pure spite. Yeah, that's awesome. Little Bellhide, kawaii little hiccup. Need to set up an obsidian farm, but I'm going to do it. I'm so proud of you. So prideful of you. How do I do a poll? Okay, whatever, man. One in chat if I should add public executions. I'm getting put in there. No, don't do it. I'm gonna message you. Smart job done. What? Yes! I'm DMing fans. Yes. Dude, guys, one in chat if I should make a Snapchat. I don't like the way this looks. I'm not a fan of that. Yeah. Oh boy, a DM! Yes! Twit longer is being written. Fuck! Pong. Dude, I want to be legally barred for making pedophile jokes in 2 months. I'm so sad. Dude, I can't believe Dalpal's met up when a minor, as a grown 32-year-old adult. Not on. Actually not on. It's not right. Fuck! Foolish Malahai, foolish mistake. Won't know till I'm under arrest. Dude, okay, this is a... Dude, I would be the worst person ever on this server. Big isopods. I love isopods. This is a Minecraft content creator server. We should have a list of who's 18 and who isn't, so everyone knows who to keep an eye on. Yes. This is a good idea, Sam. Great chat interaction. Mellow bye or mellow bye? Nah, cause it's not funny. Cause Sophie had a dream where I was fucking like bye. What? Why is what's happening with these like divine signs? I'm not. I don't think. But I don't know. Maybe there's the untapped man market that I'm just not tapped into. I feel the urge to close my door. My face when I'm the prophet with the answers you seek, and time I've unlocked it. I see past and future running free. Hmm. Try not to think about it. What the hell? What's with the lag? What's that happening? I just say that to retaliate against the T-boy energy. It's not my fault you have such T-boy energy, okay? It's not my fault you have. Nah, cause if you look at Pony Boy, like that's like, dude, that's a T-boy if I've ever seen one. Dude, I can't wait to have a plethora of stands that like headcanon me as things. I'm gonna, dude. This is where I make my big break, and I'm gonna have a billion little stands that are gonna shit me yaoi style and headcanon me as things. I'm not always Adam Sandlering it. Listen, listen. It's not my fault you look gay. Easy my ass. That's creaking. I'm out. I'm out. I'm actually out, bro. Don't play with me. Do not play with me. Dude, I'm fucking out of here. Oh my god, bro. Let me go. Dude, I'm terrified. Where did my stream become so laggy? That's fucked up. It's not right. Straight up creaking in. That Moheim says woman, and he will say no in a study pronouns. Okay, Pody, I want to try mirror pronouns, boy. Okay. I know what you are. Listen, it's just my. Listen, I'm prophetic. I'm actually prophetic. Why so transgenderious? Dude, that sucks. Little Malahide joke. Wait. Okay, walk with me here. I get the sugar cane. I start a monopoly. Walk with me. That's a little reference for one of us in the chat. Maybe multiple. I don't know. I know one of us are in a very green time in their life right now. That's all I can say. Me just the it. Me the thousand. Me the big. Why are a million beasts after me when I'm 2 apples tall? Why am I so speedy? Is this a psychological trick? Where the FOV just makes me feel faster than I am? Or is this just like, I'm goated and I'm awesome? RP Sensor. I don't think Sam's having a good time. Sam, blink twice if you need help. Guess I am a beast. I exploded a bit at the Monopoly mention. Dude, did I got you? I like tapping into my oomphs-tisms. Speed, your speed, like showing speed, you're showing speed, so you say, so you're saying I show speed? Dude, I'm literally showing speed. Speed reveal? To reveal on my speed till I'm showing. Thoughts? I'm doing speed live on Twitch. Dude, I'm doing hard drugs live on Twitch. What do you think? I just show hitboxes. F3 and B is how I do it. I think that's just generally how you do it. And then you see all the hitbox, and it's awesome. It's awesome. You and I are so like, oh. What the hell?
No.
Dude, I missed that carol like several times.
No.
I love my hitboxes. Searching for a village that doesn't exist. I don't think I turned off structured regeneration, so maybe it's just a skill issue. Give me my meat, boy. Nah, you should try speedrun. Dude, okay, to be honest, I've never finished, like, Minecraft properly before. Look genuinely. And the only game I have speedrun is In a Dream Barbecue. 'Cause it's my favorite ever. It's my favorite ever. This is the only game of speedrun in my life. I feel like you're the whoopest type of white boy possible. I, I like to think this. I was typing fuck. Oh no. Something had fun with it, methinks. I don't know, because I'm not good at, like, being speedy and rushing. I'd like, panic and cry. Dude, no, trust me, I get into speedrunning, then Tobo Live himself invites me to, like, whatever the speedrunning one was. I forgot. But yeah, it's my ultimate strat. Okay, so Sam hates me and wants me to die. Dude, half Irish, half Ukrainian, Awab, aside woke at birth. I actually almost speedrun on an SMP once. Oomph, oomph. The oomph, oomphual. Hi. Sorry, my little greeting. Dude. Dude. Being put in the vault. No! No, do not put me in the vault. Pung boy. Pung boy, what you should do is you should become the Minecraft content creator ever, and I'll invite you to my server, and then then history does the rest. What do you mean I'm reconnecting to chat? This is my chat, bro. No, don't play with me. I need to be able to read my chat. Let me have this. No, but walk with me, buddy boy. Walk with me. Walk with me. You. Bunny boy, bunny boy, bunny boy. Walk with me here. Why can I not read my chat? Okay, I'm opening up OBS so I can read my own damn chat. Computer will kill myself. It's okay. You got this. Walk with me. Join my content creator server, boy. Boy. Boy, join my server. Dude, can I please read my... Please can I read my chat? Please. Please, speed, I need this. Link it me, boy. Yes. 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 I linked, and you know the rest. If I was an alcoholic father, would you fetch me my beer? Yes. If I were an alcoholic father, I'd throw beer bottles at you. Dude, lock in. Lock in, trust me. This is the year where all of us become the next big Minecrafter group. On God. This is Loker genuinely it. I need space to be 8 for an actual set. Listen, buddy boy, you need to understand that I'm streaming on this bum ass laptop, okay? I am. And also. Dude, listen. Trust me, you can do this. Hi, Sam. Hi. Dude, I'm scared from when I turn 18. I think I'll become more comfortably putting myself out there on the internet, but like in an evil way. Dude, I could just do things. What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what I've done. Oh, it's awesome. First of my temporary base, again, it's in the middle of nowhere in a cave I'm about to go back to. I have no food. Oh. Oh. Dude. Oh no. No. Welcome home. Why would? Thank you for the one whole bit. Thank you. Dude, I'm a billionaire. War pigs? What are you doing in the nether? What do you mean you're in the nether? Just spin it all in one place. Dude, I'm a sweat dog. Dude, I was going to swim wrapping in boxes. Just do it in the nether! Such silly. Such silly. Such silliness! Bunny boy, do you want to make like public executions with me? I think we should. We should make public executions. Yes, I don't. I, I, I I'm actually such a dog at this game. I just left my idea that nothing can kill me and I win. Oh my god! No. Oh my god! Oh my god! Dude. Dude, get away, foul bees! Leave her alone! Dear period cramps, leave her alone! Sorry you had to see that, ladies. I just get so passionate about feminism. Dude! I'm having like lore visions! I'm having visions! We should make a prison and we should also add public executions and we should also add like dictatorships or something. It's gonna be awesome. Hell yeah. Hi. Hi. What have I done? You know, Slab has a really, like, fan artable skin. Like, there's some, like, little Minecraft stand just, like, itching to, like, get their hands on this and turn it into, like, an insane design. Ah! Ah! Dude, we're gonna have some kind of Excel arc. Ah, ah. Yeah, it's me. Dude, I can't believe Jonathan Schlatt has come. Why have I only been jumping around here? Why am I the worst Minecraft player ever? Wait, she's auto farming. Wait. Where the hell's my mine? I don't know, but you you are this. We check when when Jay Shuglat joins the game. Dude. When um dude, what are you doing when Mellow has stimboard? Are you stimming? Be honest. Are you stimming to the Mellow High stimboard? Size and re-downloads OBS. Yes! I love indoctrinating my friends. I love indoctrinating my friends. What are there meant to be things in here? There were. I don't want to use all my... I probably off Minecraft YouTubing last year. I don't think I'll stream. I don't really work on general line. See, that's perfect. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It won't kill itself. Listen, this is mine. This laptop can do it. Yours probably can as well. You just need to try really hard. You just need to pray. Why is there a pronoun mod? For pronouns, I don't know. Why not, bro? Pronouns show mellow high. See, you can see my pronouns also. I don't know if the other guy has pronouns. Maybe unset. What kind of pronouns are those? These neo pronouns are getting out of hand. Is this from? Slowly looks towards Bunny Boy. I can't tell if I like this corner or not. No, but it looks weird without it. Is that hit user citrus time? Is that hit banger user citrus time? It's Rapchu! Oh my god, he's here! Dude, I can't believe it. It's the rap shoe, guys. Guys, it's the rap shoe lifesteal. I can't believe it. This is. You know what? Speaking of the rap shoe, I've something. I've something. I have something to show you when you return. Citrus underscore time, bunny boy from hit Minecraft. Did my name a Figura? Because I forgot about it. Dude, you don't even need to live for this. You just unselect. I think. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I can be Tommy in it. I can be Gillian Tide Strider, champion of the Undersea Hero of the Deep. It's okay. It's okay. No, it would still show. It's okay. It's okay. What are you doing with chip just roll when it shows up? Dude, straight up chipping it, and by it, let's just say just roll it. Don't have time to rejoin. Kill your. Sorry, I'm joking. Smiley face. Okay, who's in chat right now? I'll show you. I'll show you a little secret. I'll show you a little server secret. A little server secret. Just a little server secret. Just a little server secret. just a little server secret. When I was testing it, I accidentally withdrew all my hearts and banned myself from the server. So I had to go to the config to make it so I didn't get banned so I could log on again. But yeah, I can do this. It's not fun. And I have it set so natural death doesn't make you lose a heart. Only being killed by players does, cause I think it's just I think it'd be funny if someone was like just like playing around and just like killing their oomph for fun, and then they find out that they can just like absorb their hearts. That's a really funny mental image to me. And also because it's just annoying if you're dying like all the time and you're just losing like 1 million hearts. Okay. But yeah, maybe just a little thing. A little. Those who don't know. But yeah, that's fun. That's awesome. It would be so awesome. It would be so cool. Okay. I've been running around here for just a prolonged amount of time. I'm sorry, I'm a yapper, not a productiver. Going to see online looker, can you really dress outdated labels to like dude who gaff? You're gonna swag 2020 swagger souls. Yeah. But. Yeah. I feel like I'm cosplaying a housewife. Dude. Yeah, man. It's awesome. Dude, I'm just running around in circles. I should do something. I'm gonna deforestate. I'm gonna stim and deforestate. Hold on, I had like a tree mod. Do I need to... Yeah, I need to like... Does it work normally? No, it does. I'm just stupid, apparently. Look, I'm deforesting. Thank you for the number of bits. Sorry, I couldn't count, but thank you. Thank you for $1 billion. $1 billion. I'm a real streamer now. Dude, it's awesome. I'm thriving. One of these days, they're inviting me to Lifesteal itself. John Lifesteal. It's gonna be like Mellow High join my server, and it's awesome. Big John Lifesteal. It's gonna be like Mellow High, we need you, and I'm gonna be like, yes, John Lifesteal from Lifesteal. Acting. Yo. Who needs whitelisting? I'm the whitelister. Dude, the stream on my phone is so much brighter and colorful. Oh? um. Who? Wait. What is that? Did I use it? I don't know to use it. They're on earlier, but listen. Shit if I know. Rubs hands together. Leave the get go shoes. Have a fun stream. I will. Have fun putting on your shoes and ironing lungs. Yeah, man. Yes. Oh wait, it's clear. The weather is normal. I feel the urge to make this flat. Feeling woke urges. Car PvP tag. That's scary. That's intimidating. What is that? Dude, I'm like mildly locking out. I got one more in me. I got one more in me. First I'm gonna me Betty Pies. Then I'm gonna Eber Sleeper Sleepazoid. Then I'm gonna sorry, felt the urge to look directly into the sun. I don't know what I want to do with all this dirt. I was gonna make that look like awesome, but then I decided not to. Wait. I like the way nobody spawns like on the spawn. The spawn on the borders, the spawn over there, but just like not on it. And that's okay. And there he goes, as fast as he gave me left. I can make bread! Wait, we're up. Boop. Wow! Wow! Wait, we're to 63? Hello? What, we're moving up? I didn't see the updates, hold on, let me open my thing. Docs. Activity. Yeah, no, just take your time, OBS. No, it's okay. It's okay, I've out all day, actually. All for a sec. There was activity! You're lying! You're lying to me. You're playing with me. How do I see this? I can see it! Hype train? What? Hello? What the hell? Didn't know that was a thing that happened. Didn't know that was a. Oh my god. Insane. Thank you. Thank you, Quick Sliv, for following yesterday. Thank you, W3QER under. Not even gonna try and make that a word. Thank you, Panga Boy. Panga Boy. Thank you, people, for following. Dude, I'm actually the streamer ever. Yeah. 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 Honestly, I'm pretty token out. I have compendium in like an hour. I think I'm gonna end here, and I'm gonna log off for a bit, and I'm just gonna, yeah. Is there like any people here? There's like four of us. Let's do a little raid. Let's do a little raid. Bear with me. Let's do a nice little raid, okay? Stick around. Stick around. Stick around, cause you love me. You love me. Um, who can we raid? Who can we raid? Um, um, um. Why is there 111 people? Double lives. Dude, no, it's okay. It's okay. Sorry, that was just like rude. No, but everyone knows big number, better person, so. Raid, raid, raid. Oh my god, allow me. Allow me. Okay. Oh fuck. No! 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 Don't actually do it! No! Why is it showing me the? Why is it showing me the thing? No! No! Stop! Stop! No, I don't want to raid Dream. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, we're not. We're actually not gonna raid anyone. Thanks for coming. I love you. Mwah, little kiss, little blah blah blah, because I love you so much. No, I don't. That's parasocial. Thanks for coming. I'll see you tomorrow? Dubious? We'll see. Join the Discord if you haven't. You'll know then. I'll lie sometimes, but sometimes I'll tell the